Hi, there's no one in right now. Please leave a message after the beep.
Graham!
Paula, Graham, Melissa. It's 10:30 Saturday morning, too early for words. We're about to leave civilization, and we're leaving without a phone. Not my idea at all, but Guy's insistent. You know from last night how brutal and cruel he can be. So, can be contacted at Cloves Cottage, Elm Tree Lane, Limonsea. You can get a horse-drawn carriage from the station. That's what
Yes?
You know a Stevie Charleston, a singer, I believe.
Yes, we both do.
Why?
You'd best sit down.
What's happened? What's he done?
He hasn't done anything.
Except die, I'm afraid. He's been murdered. After he left your famous party, we found this invitation in his pocket.
Famous party?
Very famous.
I can't. We've missed Guy and Melissa, Chief Inspector. I should have answered when... But then you just arrived, and But we've got Guy's cottage. The address of it. What are we going to do? What would you like us to do?
Answer the door?
Oh, yes.
So you managed, Mr. Charleston?
Yes, I have done. Did. For many years now. Great professional. Although in recent years his career has been a bit...
Yes?
I was going to say dead.
Stevie.
I know.
I'm Don Page, by the way.
Oh, we know that, Mr. Page, yes. Good of you to come to us. Although, by nature of your profession, you could probably come to us faster than we can come to you.
It seems as though yourselves and Mr. and Mrs. Foster might have been the last people to see Mr. Charleston alive.
Apart, that is, from the murderer.
I was asleep.
Oh, of course, yes, so you said.
We need to know if you have anything to add to the description already given by Mr. Hepburn.
Of the man that you saw in the park with Mr. Charleston.
Would anyone like a drink of something? Tea, coffee, mineral water, perhaps? No? Right, well, I think I'll have a drink of something, seeing as I was asleep at the time. Tea, perhaps?
He was big. He surrounded Stevie. I remember we said he looked like a heavyweight boxer, but he wasn't black.
It's as I said, Chief Inspector. It looks like you're trying to find some kind of white Mike Tyson.
Such a creature does not exist, Mr. Hepburn.
Kettle's boiling, just in case. Although I want a cup of tea. Just forgot.
Mr. and Mrs. Foster are on the Kent coast in Limonsea, incommunicado. Well, we'll have to see them at some point.
Melissa will be devastated.
And not Mr. Foster.
The man who likes to knock people over at your parties.
Only one party. Mind you, he's only been to one party.
Described by his wife in the telephone message as brutal and cruel.
That was a joke.
Oh, of course it was. Although it wasn't very funny.
The only reason Guy won't be as upset as Melissa is he hardly knew Stevie. He hardly knows any of us.
Including Melissa.
Guy Foster is a very nice man. I know I've said that before, but I'll say it again, if necessary. Kettle's boiled.
Anything else, Chief Inspector, huh?
Mr. Charleston didn't have a partner, is that correct?
Hence the walks in the park.
You'd be surprised how many men with partners or even wives take walks in the park, Mr. Hepburn.
Is this a sociology lesson, Chief Inspector? Or the start of a lecture on modern-day sexual politics?
I didn't really want a cup of tea after all.
The point is, Mr. Charleston seems to have been unattached, away from the origin of his birth, hence no close relatives.
Yes.
So we need someone to formally identify the body.
Was it,
I'm afraid so. Yeah. It's a messy one.
Well, I've seen a few messes in my time. Caused a few too, as I've been told. By nature of my profession. I'd dearly like to tell you otherwise, but I'm afraid I can't. Stupid waste.
Shop, don't want a burger. There you go, mate. There's a stomach rumbling outside. Get what you're given. There you go. Sorry, mate, there's a queue.
Yeah, that was me. Is me. That's why I'm here. Saw the descriptions in the paper and came straight here. Recognised your man. Recognised me. I was there. I was him. But that's all I was.
So what happened?
We, did what we were there to do. It was good. Well, it was all right. Although I think he wanted second. Says he was going to hang around for a while.
And what time was all this?
Just before 2 o'clock. Jumped a cab at the edge of the park. Went to a party. There by 2:15.
I hardly know why I'm asking you this, but naturally you have proof of that. Witnesses.
As it happens. I videoed the party with my mate's VCR. Time-coded and everything.
Oh, how times have changed.
But the point is, I'm in it as well. Like Truffaut or Hitchcock. Tarantino. You know, a cameo appearance. Do you want to have a look?
No, not right now, no, but in the fullness of time.
You see, I'm training to be a filmmaker at film school.
That's fascinating.
And you've got my video. It's good. Especially the framing. I'm noted for my framing.
Well, I'll look at it when I get home tonight. Well, I think that's all for now, as we say.
Do you practice safe sex?
No, not all the time.
Well, you should do. But you can still go. It's only a crime against humanity. We have no jurisdiction.
Well, any ideas?
I always have ideas. It's just that they're not necessarily related to what I'm doing at the time.
Don Page and his friends. Did you get anything off them? Smell?
Money.
I don't know. Something. What's that young lad called again?
Bird. Jean-Paul Bird.
We should look out for that name. In years to come, we can tell our friends we saw one of his first films. Early Bird. What's this now, huh?
Oh, dear.
Yes, what do you want?
You'll be Guy Foster.
I'll be Guy Foster. Who'll you be?
Detective Chief Inspector Cameron.
Detective Inspector Kilshaw.
Investigating the death of Stevie Charleston.
Caught me in the nick of time, Chief Inspector. I was just about to flee the country. So, what's the point? Unless you like the Kent countryside and coastline.
We do, actually, but there is a point.
I'm sorry, but if the giant we all saw with Stevie is not the man who killed him, I see little point in talking to me or my wife. He had a random meeting with a random killer. But it wasn't the giant.
But was it random?
Well, you tell me.
Well, the early post-mortem reports suggest that he had only one sexual encounter last night, admitted to by the man that you all saw with Mr. Charleston. So therefore, whoever killed him may well have been somebody who did not have a romantic interest in Mr. Charleston.
Romantic? I doubt if romance was included.
How would you know, Mr. Foster? How do you know?
I didn't say I knew, I said I doubted.
Well, the fact is, gentlemen, Stevie never, ever went there with a bunch of flowers and a box of chocolates, or with a hope in his heart. He was a wonderful romantic, Stevie, but not when the toilets in Regent's Park were involved.
It'll be a bad man with a big hammer. And before you tell me it was a hammer and raise your eyebrows, I was only guessing about the hammer.
Might have been a hammer.
Well, it wouldn't have been a handbag, would it?
Do you have anything against homosexuals, Mr. Foster?
No, but I do have something against having my time wasted.
Strange, though, isn't it? No sex involved, no robbery. Very few crimes at that time in the morning that don't involve sex or robbery. In that park, anyway.
Look, I've told you everything I know, and basically I know nothing and I did nothing.
But you were in the area at the time of the murder.
I told you that, and I told you that because I have nothing to hide.
Well, earlier that night you had knocked a man unconscious.
It's the first time I've hit a man off a football field since I was 17. And I don't hit women and children and small furry animals.
Well, that must be very reassuring for Mrs. Foster.
I didn't need any reassurance, Chief Inspector.
Yet you did say the reason you couldn't sleep was because you had worries.
Guy often gets up and goes for a walk.
How would you know, Mrs. Foster, that your husband often goes for a walk in the middle of the night?
Because when I wake up, there's an empty space at the side of me.
No, what I mean is, you haven't been together very long, have you?
Really, no?
And you don't see each other very often.
Not at the moment.
So how do you know that he often goes for a walk?
In my experience.
In your short experience. And your worries, Mr. Foster.
How much longer my nerves can stand being near bullets and bombs in war-torn somewhere or other, okay? Now, gentlemen, as I see it tonight, you have two options.
And what might they be?
You can either have dinner at the Hartwell Manor in Boughton Lees or the Buxford Mill in Ashford. I prefer the former, but they're both excellent. I saw the good food guide on the dashboard of your car.
We all would want to go for a pint, David, and soon we shall. However, for a few moments more.
Well, what for? We've got nothing to work on. He's clueless. Or we're clueless.
All right, all right. One more time, and then it's a waste of time.
Stevie Charleston, age 29, entertainer, black, homosexual. Much loved, but by no one in particular. Beaten over the head with a blunt instrument. Somewhat akin, you might say, to what we are doing to ourselves. But that pint is not yet upon the table, gentlemen.
He had money in him. No one took it. He had money in the bank. No one claimed until his mother came over from the Virgin Islands. He had no one who hated him or loved him enough to kill him for it. The only reason to kill him is for hanging around where he was hanging around.
Some straight guy.
Hardly straight, David.
Someone with normal sexual preferences and a grudge against someone who hasn't. He done it. And we don't know who he is. And we're not likely to know who he is.
Would this reluctance to participate in group gatherings have something to do with spending several nights in tight jeans in Regent's Park, David?
Well, Governor, nothing at all. I like horticulture.
Ah.
And tight jeans.
But there's been no follow-up attacks. There weren't any in that area for some time before either. No murders anyway, for at least 23 months. So statistically... Statistically...
You like being called Stato, don't you?
I don't think we're looking for someone with a grudge against gays. Unless he's very selective. Or he just didn't fancy you at all, David.
What about that lot who saw him? Don Page and his crowd. What about going back to them?
You just want to meet Don Page.
What would the motive be? To kill a friend?
And they knew him. Maybe he had something on one of them.
For example?
Don Page takes bribes.
Don Page doesn't need to take bribes to lose races. It comes natural.
Sex and drugs.
You definitely do want to meet him.
Have you checked the bank accounts and back history, Governor?
No. Partly because I don't like envy. Particularly when I see it myself.
Sounds like an offer to me, though.
Status. Well, you might just find the sort of thing that would upset most of us here. Great wealth, fame and power, beautiful women, fine houses, high society. You might even find the most upsetting thing of all to a police officer: perfect law and order. Right, well, as we're going nowhere else, except obviously to the pub, you go ahead, Gary, if you want some archaeology.
What about the big fella who was with him the night of the murder? The camcode kid. Definitely out of it?
Oh, yes. I've seen his alibi. At least his film. Really don't understand young people. But then again, when I was young, I still didn't understand them.
And she said, but he'll never stand up in court.
Good night. Good night.
I knew they'd get rid of him. Pair of provincial pufters. I'll never forgive Cameron for putting me in that park dressed up like a tart. Why don't one of them do it? More suited.
How do you know? They've both been married. And I've seen the both of them with women.
So? I've seen you with men. You're with men now. That make you the other way inclined. Who shatters it? It's got to be Stato's. Stato! Where's Stato?